All right, you think you can make somebody let me down? I think I like you up there, kinda. I'm looking everywhere, man. I'm flipping rocks. I'm digging in people's backyards. I'm peeking in garage doors. I'm not ever stopping. I'm never stopping. Danny the Count Koker lived a double life for 30 years and no one noticed. Bandana, beard, and Count's roar. Kustoms made him a regular on TV. But that was only one side of the story. My shop is so unique. Here we do things differently. For us, it's all about the style and beauty of making them as they can be. A second life was unfolding quietly, in plain sight, behind the cameras. The garage was legit. The character was real. But the full truth never made it to the screen. So, what was going on when the cameras went black? Join us as we lift the curtain on the two worlds of Danny Koker. Cleveland roots, gospel soul. He was born Danny Koker on January 5th, 1964 in Cleveland, Ohio. A city of steel and rock and roll, far from the desert glitter of his future empire. His childhood was a strange weave of two very different threads, gospel and grease. On one side, his family had deep roots in the Detroit automotive soil. Most of his kin punched the clock at Ford Motor Company, so the legend of the assembly line and the smell of motor oil were virtually in his bloodstream. The music was on the other side. His father, Daniel Koker Jr., wasn't a mechanic. He was a well-known musician, baritone singer, and keyboardist for the famed Southern gospel group, the Cathedral Quartet. Young Danny was often on the road, traveling with his father's group or his uncle's outfit, the Rex Humbard Singers. While other kids played Little League, Danny was backstage in auditoriums, soaking up the complex harmonies of tight quartets and the raw power of a live crowd. But the siren song of cars was one he couldn't resist. His father, with his musical pedigree, was the one who ignited the automotive fuse. Danny bought his first motorcycle when he was 8. For most kids, that equals freedom. For Danny, that meant taking it apart and putting it back together again, learning mechanical skills that no classroom could ever teach him. Discipline required a certain psychological makeup, the patience to diagnose a misfire, the tolerance for bloody knuckles, and an almost irrational belief that he could make something run better than the factory ever intended. It was that duality that made him. A Cleveland kid with Detroit blood and a gospel music soul. He got persistence from the garage, performance from his father. But the world didn't know yet how he was going to combine these two worlds into a multi-million-dollar empire. With music and motors in his background, what road could a young man with a voice and a wrench possibly carve in the middle of the Nevada desert? Body shop to Vamp'd. In the 1990s, Las Vegas was the land of opportunity for someone like Danny with his particular skill set. He didn't come with a business plan. He came with a love for painting cars and making them look mean. He started Counts. Kustoms started out as a small business that did mostly paint and body work. The shop was not an overnight phenomenon. Danny and his expanding crew operated by word of mouth, creating high-quality restorations and custom builds for local clients who valued his old-school, hands-on approach. But it was the music that gave him his first stage name. Before he was the Count of Counting Cars, he was a host of Saturday Fright at the Movies, a weekly syndicated horror show in Vegas. He took on the Count's appearance, a little nod to his love of old horror films and low-budget B-movie schlock. It was a job that kept him in front of the camera, and more importantly, kept his performance chops honed. He was a natural on camera, he was a big personality, he had a unique look, and the kind of real charisma you can't fake. In this period, he juggled many roles. He was a mechanic, a painter, a local TV personality, and a businessman. The shop was expanding, but real financial stability was still a moving target. He was building something, even if he couldn't see the whole shape of the empire yet. The real turning point came when he invested in a rock club. Count's Vamp'd, which originally opened in partnership with Mötley Crüe's Vince Neil, became the physical nexus of Danny's two lives. It was a garage for his soul. By day, he was covered in Bondo dust. At night, he was on stage or in the crowd, listening to the hard rock and heavy blues that powered him. This was the basis of the double life. He was turning Count's Kustoms into a respected shop and creating a venue for his other passion to breathe fire. He was a business partner of Corey Koker, who would later manage the band and help run the empire from behind the scenes. The mechanic was seen by the world. Vegas locals knew the rock star. But a local television gig and a thriving rock bar were not enough to build an automotive empire. Then, what happened next changed the whole equation. Pawn Stars opens the floodgates. The solution came from an unexpected quarter. The Pawn Stars producers wanted an expert. When a seller walked in with a vintage motorcycle or classic car that needed to be appraised, the guys at the gold and silver pawn shop were in over their heads. They wanted someone who was believable right away, a guy who looked like he was born under a hood. They found Danny Koker. His segments on Pawn Stars were dynamite. Here was this tall figure with a bandana and a sleeveless shirt rattling off specs and values with the authority of a man who'd turned every bolt himself. The endorsement history. Channel's flagship show brought a rush of new eyes to Danny's world. The audience adored him. He wasn't just evaluating cars, checking them out with the swagger of a rock star. The response was so overwhelming that it proved not only his expertise, it demanded a spin-off. Counting Cars premiered in August 2012, and the local legend became a national phenomenon. The show followed the daily goings-on at Count's Kustoms, with Danny and his loyal crew of Kevin, Horny Mike, and the late great Rolly buying, restoring, and flipping iconic American metal. The show's success was attributed to Danny's magnetic personality and the stunning transformations, which made it one of the History Channel's top programs. The financial universe was turned upside down. The shop was always a labor of love, but the income from the TV became substantial enough to overshadow the day-to-day grind of customer commissions. Danny was allegedly making as much as $100,000 an episode, bringing home about $1.6 million a year just from the show. He had made the decision that terrifies every small business owner standing on the edge of the light. He opened the doors to the cameras and it paid off big time. Now he was bargaining for Camaros and Cadillacs, and hundreds of thousands of viewers were watching him. But what was Danny going to do with all that new cash and fame? The Midnight Singer no one saw, and this is where the double life that had been simmering for 30 years boiled over into plain sight if you knew where to look. The majority of viewers believed Danny Koker to be a reality star with a side gig in music. The reality was exactly the opposite. He was a musician who starred in a reality show about his day job. While Counting Cars was filming during the week, Danny would often fly out on the weekends to play with his band Count 77. The band wasn't some vanity project thrown together after he got famous. Born of instant chemistry at a Count's Vamp'd jam night, the band features Koker, guitarist John Zito and Stoney Curtis, bassist Barry Barnes, and drummer Paul DeCibio. The name itself is an homage to the 1970s, the decade of hard rock, blues, and heavy metal influences that give their sound its distinctive character. This is the gap between the audience's perception and the reality. The viewers see Danny as the Count, the car guru who barks out orders and loves American steel. They don't see the lead singer, Danny Koker, clutching the microphone stand and summoning the spirits of Black Sabbath and Deep Purple. He writes records and tours with a real rock band on Shrapnel Records, the same label that launched Guitar Virtuosos. They've released albums like their self-titled debut, Soul Transfusion. The band was not from the car show. The band used the car show to increase its reach. When Counting Cars has Count 77 music or the Crüe at a concert, it's not just product placement. It's that simple mix of a life Danny's been living since he was a kid watching his dad sing gospel. The TV fame gave him the platform to book bigger venues and sell more records. But the music feeds his soul in a way even the rarest Corvette can't. On stage, he often feels a strong, almost spiritual connection with his father, hinting at an emotional side to him that runs deeper than his tough rock image. If rock and roll was the real love, how does the money machine behind the Count really work? Corey and the Stupid Machine. You have to look beyond the History Channel checks to understand Danny Koker's finances. The money machine that he built with his wife, Courtney, has many interconnected revenue streams, each one feeding into and strengthening the others. The most visible income source is television production. The show costs about $100,000 per episode. This puts a floor of several $1,000,000 per year, revenue just for showing up and doing what he loves. But smart entrepreneurs don't build their financial houses on TV contracts, which can be canceled at the whim of network executives. Danny Koker is a smart businessman. Count's Kustoms is the heart of the operation. The shop has a healthy off-camera clientele, but the TV show shows the builds. Moneyed collectors and fans will pay top dollar for full restorations and custom paint jobs bearing the Count's Kustoms touch. The shop has a dedicated staff of 9 people, and the work they produce fetches high 5- and 6-figure price tags. Then there's the Koker Vegas empire. Danny has branched into brick-and-mortar hospitality along with his wife Courtney, who runs the band and the bar, and who he married in 2015. Count's Vamp'd Rock Bar and Grill is a successful Las Vegas establishment that serves American food and live music nightly. This isn't a place to hang out. It's an asset that makes money. They also own Count's Tattoo Company, a tattoo shop inside the Rio All-Suite Hotel and Casino. The ventures, along with Count's Kustoms car tours, which bus fans to see his private collection, make a diversified portfolio that insulates him from the ups and downs of TV ratings. The cars themselves are the part of Danny's finances that are most misunderstood. Fans often see the private collection, which is reported to contain more than 55 cars and 70 motorcycles, as a symbol of the singer's unchecked personal wealth. The reality is, these vehicles are used for two purposes. They are assets that increase in value over time, particularly when restored by a master. They're also content inventory for the show and marketing tools for the store. Danny has been upfront about some cars are sold to make room for new projects and that the collection is a revolving door of automotive history. Combined TV salary, shop profits, restaurant revenue, merchandise sales, and asset appreciation, and Danny Koker has an estimated net worth of an incredible $13 million. What does the garage of a man with a double life actually look like with a $13 million empire built on rock and restorations? The garage of American dreams. Walk into the Count's Kustoms showroom and you're surrounded by rolling Americana that would make the Detroit pioneers proud. These are not a bunch of modern Ferraris or European exotics. It is a hand-picked collection of the most coveted American and vintage metal ever produced. The collection is heavily weighted toward muscle cars, hot rods, and classic Cadillacs, a favorite of Danny's. You'll see painstakingly restored trikes and vintage Harleys that shine with more chrome than a 1950s diner. There are custom-painted dune buggies, like they came right off the cover of a heavy metal album. He's got a big soft spot for the 1972 Lamborghini Miura, a classic Italian wedge that pops among the sea of American V8s. The collection is not just ownership, it's preservation. He's a custodian of automotive history to Danny, making sure these machines run and roar for generations to come. He has collected more than 55 cars and 70 bikes. But Danny, unlike a private collector, didn't hoard these treasures behind locked doors. Instead, he built a business around access. Fans can walk among these legends, take photos, and soak in the history with the Count's Custom Tour and the VIP showroom experience. The shop itself is the ultimate expression of this double life. It's a working garage with the cacophony of air tools and the scent of clear coat. But step into the back office or the showroom and you'll see walls covered in signed guitars and rock memorabilia. A visual representation of the man's psyche, half garage, half backstage green room. But this is the question that separates the casual fans from the ones who really get this world. Is Danny Koker's life as glamorous as the TV edits would have you believe? The garage bursting with American dreams. When Danny Koker leans against a freshly painted Cadillac and says on television, "My car, there's a distinction lurking in plain sight." Is it his own property, bought with after-tax personal income for weekend driving, or a business asset owned by the shop, restored to be used as a marketing tool, and heading for a client or auction? Danny's empire is run by a web of business entities that is complicated. Kustoms is a real LLC, and it is working. The cars you see on the show are usually inventory, not personal garages. This arrangement is not a secret thing, nor is it nefarious. This is what business owners at his level tend to do, but it changes the way that the viewer is supposed to read the rock and roll lifestyle that is shown on screen. The car that the Count's Kustoms team restored for the show is totally different from a car bought with personal savings. The vehicle is an investment in future content and shop reputation. The cost of parts, the purchase price, and the labor hours of its employees are all valid business expenses. The profit from the sale of the car when the episode airs goes back into the business to fund the next and more ambitious build. Danny may only personally own a fraction of the vehicles that turn over in his Las Vegas showroom at any one time. This model is not a deceptive model. Danny created a brand. He buys cars, restores them on camera, and his content is monetized in a variety of ways. The vehicles are his inventory and his passion at the same time. His personal lifestyle is no doubt comfortable and full of loud guitars and fast cars, but is probably far more grounded in the day-to-day operations of his businesses than the thumbnail images and video titles might suggest. The same thing goes for the rock band. Company Count 77 is a company. They sell albums, they do gigs, they have a manager, Corey. It's a passion project that, with the platform of the TV show, can actually make money instead of being an expensive hobby. This is the difference between perception of the audience and financial reality. You see a guy with a garage full of classics and assume he lights cigars with $100 bills all day. The truth is more complicated. Danny Koker has a business that happens to be in exotic and classic cars. That business is the means by which he supports his real double life as a touring rock musician. What does Danny Koker get out of bed for in the morning? If the cars are inventory and the TV show is a job, one engine, two fuels. Restoring a 1957 Chevy or a vintage chopper is a far cry from today's auto repair. The stakes are higher, the parts are scarcer, and there is no room for error. But for Danny, this is just the language that he speaks. He learned this on that first motorcycle at 8 years old. Look at the ethos of Count's Kustoms. They don't just repair dents, they roll art. Every project, from a full frame-off restoration to a wild custom airbrush job by Horny Mike, bears the weight of the shop's reputation. A misaligned panel or mismatched paint could end up on millions of television screens in HD. Danny has the confidence of a man who's made every mistake in the book. But he did them 30 years ago, long before the cameras showed up. This same painstaking energy is put into the band. Count's 77 sound isn't an accident. It's a worshipful, studied tribute to the 1970s rock that Danny worships. He's not going to put cheap parts on a classic car. He's not going to let the band sound like a modern pop act. It's gritty, loud, and unapologetically analog. Danny's not the world's best technical singer, but he's an incredible performer. His father imbued in him that music is connecting with an audience, whether it's in a church pew or a mosh pit. This blend of the visual artistry of the cars and the sonic assault of the band is the real secret to Danny Koker's remarkable longevity. He's not just a TV guy. He's a lifestyle brand based on the authenticity of two American dreams, the open road and the rock and roll stage. Which side of his double life is more compelling to you? The hard rock or the custom cars? What's the wildest thing you've heard about Danny? Let us know in the comments below what you think. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your You'll Like It.